is a student of history, a student of mathematics. No, Brother Guyana is an all-rounder, I should say. He is a philosopher. He is also steep in religion, because if you notice, I said the invitation says, Brother Reverend, Doctor, right? So he is many things in one. So he is looking at our situation from many perspectives. While most of us have a unilateral view, Brother Guyana's view is much more, what should I say? Right. Okay, Brother Guyana, I know you had started last time discussing Emancipation Revisited. That was the name of the topic. And we have quite a few people here. Most of them may know you, some may not, but I think your words will tell them who you are. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, my brother. Good afternoon, all those who take the time. Yes, my brother. All those who have taken the time to be here with us, I say good afternoon. I say hello. I say Ma'at. I say Hotep. Now, my brother, as you said, this is a kind of continuation of a lecture on emancipation. Can you see me?
No, we're not seeing you. We're not seeing you, Brother Guyana.
But you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we are hearing you. That is so.
Good. I don't know what's going on, but I won't keep anyone back. Now, first of all, I would like you to know that we went through on the first part, I call the first part, we raised certain points. I'd like to go through them quickly as I can. First of all, we defined emancipation. We also said that there were more than one emancipation. We mentioned all that. But I would like to start at that particular point where we're saying there were more than one emancipation. Because in Guyana, when we use the word emancipation, people tend to think that, look, we're talking about Africans and slavery and all that. No, I mentioned that before 1834, 1st of August 1834, there was a Catholic emancipation. Thank you. There was a Catholic emancipation. And what you have to understand about that, it was issued by the British or proclaimed by the British. The Catholics were treated as terrible as anyone can be treated, but you don't hear about that. But what was important, when the Catholics became emancipated, they turned around and treat us the way they were being treated. The second emancipation was in 1834, which was the one they usually call Africans in Guyana and the Anglo-Caribbean.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, we were at a point where I'm trying to situate the emancipations and their importance. Now, the two emancipations that concern us in Guyana, all shouldn't concern us, but the two most important ones for us, the one, 1st of August, 1834, and the other one, the emancipation of slavery in India in 1843. So it is erroneous, it's not correct when we talk about emancipation in Guyana to only stop at 1834. The reason is that the two large population groups in Guyana were affected by emancipation, but they were not equally affected. I'll give you an example, and this is where our starting point. Africans, I claim, were never slaves, and we show that. To say that Africans were slaves will be continue to have us oppressed, and we'll never get reparations. Because one of the things they always tell us, and that's the reason why they want us to define ourselves to accept the definition of slavery, is that what's your problem? Other people, the whole world have had slavery from antiquity to present day. But I will show you and argue that what happened to Africans between 1625 to 1st of August, 1834 was not slavery. Africans were never slaves. In fact, what happened to us during that time never happened on the face of this planet. And I could even start and explain that even better. First of all, our foreparents that were kidnapped from Africa were never slaves kidnapped from Africa. That is wrong that's the first thing was wrong. We were free people, indigenous people, living in free communities. These communities were raided by terrorists. People talk about terrorism today. Terrorism was learned from Caucasians and their agents. So when you talk about terrorism today, the people who are crying crocodile tears about terrorism today, they brought terrorism, international terrorism, into human experience. Anyway, we were free people living in free communities that were raided. We were kidnapped from our free living and brought to the Americas. So no one should say from today, slaves were brought from Africa. Free indigenous people were brought from Africa. So that's one thing that we should make clear. Secondly, to be a slave, you must, there are four things that are necessary to be a slave. To be a slave, you must first of all need from someone food, clothing, shelter, protection. Those are the four things that mark a person as a slave. And there's nothing wrong to be a slave. In fact, slavery was never a crime against humanity. What happened to Africans in the Americas was a crime against humanity. That must be made clear and debated around if people want to debate about it. Slavery was never a crime against humanity. It was important that people who were opened to being killed, being exploited, being in any way subject to harm, to put themselves under someone for protection, where they get food, clothing, shelter, protection. That was a normal social relationship that happened. Even today, people don't realize every person who works for a wage or a salary is a slave. That's why, as I mentioned previously, people could tell you have to take a job, what they call a vaccine, or you can't get your wage. What your wage give you? Your wage give you food, clothing, shelter, protection. Who's giving you food, clothing, shelter, protection? The person who pays you. The person who pays you is your master. You're a slave today. And I tell people, only the cooperative program is the only new economic system on this planet Earth that makes you free, that you will not be involved in being a slave. Because think about it, in a cooperative system, you have no master. That is very important. You're master of your own destiny. Capitalism is. And we don't even understand what Guyana has put into this universal mix. Because what
My mic was off and I was speaking to people. Sorry, I forgot. Yes, I was saying that the system is not nice to us because Brother Guyana is coming back in, right? I was just about to say that, though it may be a bit impolite, we could have been discussing what he has already introduced to us, the fact that we are dependent on a master for sustenance in totality. The system of slavery continues. As against when our foreparents were enslaved, they were able to fight against that system, but we are compliant today. Where a slave is one who accepts his condition. Our foreparents never accepted that condition, so they were not slaves. So that is where our contradiction is. The contradiction is, right? Who's a slave and who's not a slave? Okay, Brother Guyana is back with us. Sister Ingrid, you saying something? Yes, the Brother Guyana apparently, though I see that he's back, he's not online yet. Let me see. I see Brother Guyana's grandson is saying something, but his microphone is mute.
How you doing? How you doing, everyone? Greetings and namaste. I was actually interpreting for his daughter. Brother Guyana's daughter, for those of you who don't know, was born deaf. I'm her son, so I was doing the sign language as you were speaking to translate for the daughter. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
I thought you were saying. Be here with all of you. It's great to be here with all of you. It's an honor. This is his daughter, by the way. She lives out here in New York with myself. Let me turn on. This is the daughter. Let me just.
Good afternoon, sister.
Hold on.
From us all in Guyana. Good afternoon, sister. She looks like she spend quite a lot. She looks like her mama.
She said, yes. Everybody tells me that.
Yes. I'm seeing your Brother Guyana back among us, but he is not saying anything. I don't know what is happening. Yes, as I was saying, I don't know if you who are online would like to initiate a discussion. I mean, it's not the thing to do, but because of the technology we're using, which seems to be giving Brother Guyana some challenges, maybe we can start the discourse. Yes, it's Ingrid.
Yeah, we will all have to have data on our phone so that we can use that instead of depending on GT&T internet. Because you're paying for the internet and every minute it's getting interrupted.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. These things do happen in Guyana. I mean, we have been accepting it for too long. These companies need to do better for us.
Listen, I'll make 3 quick points and then I'll turn over for questions. First of all, we are made to look at history in a one-track-minded way. For example, when we think about the emancipation period, we only think of what is affecting Guyanese in Guyana, but The players are not only Africans in Guyana, the players are the British. What was happening in the British environment at a time when they were supposed to be liberating us? But let me give this to the listeners. In 1834, the average wage of the worker in Britain was about 8 shillings. The cost of living was about 12 shillings. That meant that in 1834, the British working class was experiencing a great deal of hardship. There was famine from various reasons, and there were a lot of riots. And this is important. In 1834, the riots that were going on in Britain, over 600 people were imprisoned, over 500 transported from prison to a colony, and 19 were executed. Why am I mentioning this? Why do you expect a people who are treating their people in that way just because they're protesting a situation where they're dying from hunger? You did that to them. What will they do to them? Hello? What do you expect of them in Guyana? So by understanding these things, by looking at emancipation's era comparatively, you learn a lot of things. You'll know that you could have got nothing out of that so-called emancipation deal. There's another thing, I don't know if I mentioned it in my previous talk, but I want to mention it again because people may not have heard the previous talk. First of all, is after the 1823 revolution, Africans on the prison industrial complex, I don't know if anyone who would listen to me know why I mentioned the word prison, private prison industrial complex. That's where we were on. The plantations were the first private prison industrial complex. Anyway, what we did after 1823, we sick out, slow out, and all these things, so much so that the plantation became uneconomical. And because of that, they had to call for a truce. So emancipation was a compromise, a truce that was forced upon the West India Company by the Africans as a continuation of the 1823 revolution. You have to understand that. If you don't understand that, you never understand what happened after. What happened after is they used the missionaries as they were using them before in order to turn our success that we had in 1834 against us. That's why we have silly things like the first village named Victoria. Why would we go to all those pains to do something and then give the praise to somebody else? Buxton. And then Buxton was supposed to be some abolitionist. Let me leave this with you, and we could always develop as you ask questions. The abolitionists were never in the interests of Africans in Guyana. The abolitionists had no interest in slavery. The abolitionists had no interest in slaves. Why I'm saying this is this. The abolitionists recognized that the money that they had invested in the East India Company was not giving them the returns as the people who had money invested in the West India Company. The West India Company did not pay wages. The East India Company paid wages. So the abolitionists wanted to get things balanced or equal by forcing the West India Company to pay wage. It had nothing to do with slavery. If it had to do with slavery, now India was under the administration of Britain. And India had slavery that they were experiencing for over 800 years. And as you know, that in 43, they have the Emancipation Act was passed in India. Why is it? And listen, and I want you to I want you to be very, I want you to listen tentatively to this. Why is it that the Caribbean was under the British and they were supposed to be slaves? The India, Ceylon, and the Indian Ocean territories, they were all under British rule. Why is it in 1833, one Emancipation Act was not passed to stop slavery in British territories? Think about that. The abolitionists didn't care. There was over millions of slaves in India, and they were exploiting them, but they didn't care. 800 slaves, 800 so-called slaves in Guyana and the Caribbean, they were 800,000, sorry, and they care about them. This is what I would like you to think about. And since I want to stop, so you can ask some questions and I could develop from your questions. So please ask your questions from the little disjointed kind of presentation that you've had, but still, please ask questions. Okay. Brother Elton?
I will ask the first question. You mentioned there were other emancipations, and while you were mentioning the other emancipations, you said the Catholic emancipation, you said the African emancipation in the Caribbean. That's when you went off, so we did not get the orders fully. Oh,
yes, the Catholic, and I also mentioned the Catholic emancipation, the Catholic treatment of a Catholic in Britain was brutal. In fact, if a priest found teaching, talking to the Catholic script, he could be killed. That's a reality. That is Britain. So anyway, so I just want to know that. The other emancipations were, as I mentioned, the 1843 emancipation, India emancipation, India slavery emancipation. And the last one's 1858 Jewish emancipation. Those are the four. You got that clear?
Yes, so effectively the Jews were also emancipated.
Oh yes, the Jews were emancipated. Why I'm showing you, why I mentioned those four emancipations is important. When emancipation is mentioned, it mentions as a put down. If all the others were a put down, the Africans emancipation was not a put down, because African emancipation was a victory, the first victory against European economic system, was registered in Guyana, South America, by Africans. We forced them to change their system that they had a plantation. We actually destroy the plantation system, and to save the plantation system from being destroyed, they brought Indians in from India. Indians came in to save the plantation system that we would have ruled it. Look, Africans in Guyana, in all respect, are the rulers of Guyana. We the people, we and the Amerindians are the people who should run this country. Indians were brought in here to prevent our victory, prevent us from running this. So the Chinese and the Portuguese and all these people, they came in here, strike breakers, revolutionary breakers, whatever you want to call them. You see? So think about it, reality. We forced the plantation system to give up their prisons. Those were really prisons where we were held. Look, we weren't paid. We were held by, they were bounty hunters, they were wardens. If you tried to escape, they would have killed us. And Brother Elton, I must mention this. If we had done what our foreparents had done, did before 1834, that is, when we leave those prisons, go straight into the interior. We did not do that. That was the requirement. But the missionaries directed us to go and buy plantations, defunct plantation, because they had a plan with the Queen and the British and the authorities. That is, keep them near the plantations. We will destroy their livelihood, and they'll have to come and work for us. Anyway, I went way far from a bit from your particular question, but those were the 4 emancipations, but all by the British. And you see where the Jews are today. You see where the Catholics are today. You see where the Indians are today. We are Africans today. All right, I'm not going further. Let's continue, my boy, my brother. Life is so weird. Life is so wonderful. The reason why you're having this is that you're telling everyone, look, better must come, and better will come if you think in according to your reality and not other people's reality.
Effectively, what you're saying, brother, that the British introduced the missionaries into our society to destroy us, right?
Yes.
Because prior to emancipation, or people, when they left the plantations, they went upriver, like places like into Bartica area, where they settled along the Escobar River, they settled along the Berbice River, right? But because of the influence of the missionaries, they settled on those same abandoned plantations and were exposed to the destruction that we are seeing today.
By doing that, they came under jurisdiction of the British Crown. That's why I have foolish things. That's why you had our foreparents adhering to things like Crown land. If we had done what we did before 1st of August 1834 or 1833, when the act was actually passed, if you said, good, the prison doors are open, we've gone into the interior, no Crown lands could have pertained to us. Nothing. We are maroon, as maroon villages, we are people that were under our own jurisdiction, nobody else's jurisdiction. And this is what we have to meet, discuss, write about, and research. We have to know the things that kept us bring us to the situation.
Those people who settled along the rivers, we have had an issue in Sandales up to recently. Those were people who settled there since before, around 1833, and before people were settling there. So after emancipation, they went up the Demerara River. Until today, their lands have not been recognized. There was a battle between those people and the government recently. The government wanted some miners to go and mine sand in Sandales on the Demerara River. They're not recognizing the presence of those people. On the Essequibo River, places like, I can't remember the name of the place on the Essequibo River. There was a similar issue. On the Berbice River, it was not only recently that there's a settlement there just before Ibini, where their lands are now being regularized, right? So all of these maroon settlements, their lands were never, ever considered by any of our governments until today. Now some of them are being regularized as for ownership.
So you see, my brother,
who are there, they have got their lands, but those African settlements, they have never been regular. So what you're saying seems to be true.
All right, and therefore, what do we have to do? What our intellectuals and our professionals and our university have to do? They have to give young people in the political department, those departments, projects to do research in that, and give them graduation certificates, diplomas, etc., relating to those kind of research. But you're not going to do that because we are accredited by Britain, America, etc., not by ourselves. If our institutions are accredited by us, we work in our interests, but we're not. We got to watch this accreditation thing because it doesn't work in our interests. Anyway, carry on, my brother.
Yes, any member in the audience would like to raise a question, please. The floor is open. I should have mentioned this since brother said you could, right? So the thing is, brother, our emancipation is not similar to the Jewish emancipation. You said, because you draw the comparison. The Jewish emancipation, the Jews have made strides. In fact, we are aware that the Jews were part of the enslavement process. They financed it in a large way, right? The Chinese came after us, they made strides. The Portuguese came after us, they made strides. But we were confined to those crown lands, so we could not have blossomed out. We had our cooperative systems in the villages. Our villages were bought, and in fact, we were described as a band of socialists in that time by the British newspapers, right? So there was definitely a plan to get rid of the socialist mentality that we exhibited.
And very important to know that we, at the time, we were not allowed to buy crown lands. This is I deal with in my paper on reparations. You see, what really, you got to understand what 1838 meant. There are two important dates, 1838 and 1953. 1838, a kind of pact was made that Africans will never own and control anything in this country. That's why they bring nearly double the amount of people into the country, nearly triple. But I'll tell you why I say that. Listen, if you go to, if you look at the old book,
time of emancipation.
Hello?
We were 84,000 at the time of emancipation.
No, I was speaking, let us say over the period of, I'm talking about over the period of until 1850 something. They brought over 200,000. They only brought about and the first set of people, Indians that came to this country is only about 3,000. And over the period of the 50s, they had over 200,000 people. And we as African people, what they did, they make sure, now this is a democracy. A democracy is about numbers. They make sure that they put sufficient people upon your head so you never win elections. That's why I tell people, every time an election in this country is won by Africans, America say foul, Britain say foul, every country say foul. It's not the people in this country called foul first. It's the people who set up this country, because Africans ain't supposed to win anything. And I want people to understand that 1953, we had something called self-government. We had independence. We didn't work towards independence. We worked towards self-government. And in 53, you had Burnham, you had Jagan. That wasn't a false relationship. Jagan and Burnham was never a false relationship. However, Jagan was breaking that 1838 convention that Africans should never own and control. So therefore, he went foul of that particular convention. And from that moment on, Guyana was never what it was. Because the British, it's not the Indians in this country set that up. It's a day Indians and Africans work together, whether people understand it or not. It's the people who we allow to have power over us, give us independence, places interdependency rather than in self-government. Those people who could walk into our country and say, listen, you will have to make this man your president. You are no longer, you're not a president. You may win election, but you're not a president. He is the president. Those are the people who are controlling Guyana. In fact, we are allowing to control Guyana. So the point is, 53 is important because 53, they recognize that Africans and Indians will work together. And when they work together, they control Guyana. And that should never be. So they cause this thing that's operating today called so-called racism. What they don't understand, that racism is in finance is color, discrimination on skin color. And discrimination on skin color was brought into the world 3,000 years ago by Hindu Aryan Brahim through the caste system. The caste system is the first system that brought into the world racism and discrimination color. That's why the blackest of the Indians were considered the lowest caste, which is Dalits, Dravidian, or black man. In fact, there wasn't the term black man in Guyana until 1838. Know that. Black man came, the Indians were the black man, and then Africans became the black man. These are things we have to sit down, look at it, study and understand. Race, we call the so-called white people racist. You know, the Aryans may be white, but look at what's happening in India. Look at what's happening in this country. Look at Nandlal and Glenlal. Nandlal is so stupid. I'm saying this in so everyone can hear it. He's so stupid that he can go class upmanship with Glenlal. Glenlal is a Muslim. How can a Hindu talking about a caste? He's just strata caste. Glenlal has nothing to do with that foolishness, but he said it. So the people who are in control today, Nandlal et al., they're all racist because they believe in the caste system. Amen. And if Glenlal, a number one businessman, you throw caste upmanship on him, what about the ordinary Indian? They wipe their feet on ordinary Indians. And if Africans were not in this country, I'm sorry for those poor Indian people, Indian brothers and sisters, because the upper caste don't like them. So Indians must start studying the caste system and they realize what's going on, what their life really is. A lot of things we need to do, my brother, coming out of that emancipation. Emancipation period is very, very important. And we have to study it both locally and in terms of all the players. Anyway, yes, my brother. And no questions. Oh my, probably people can't get on. But anyway, yes. No, I can't hear.
But how come you're not sure?
No, somebody's asking a question, but I can't hear.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, oh, please.
I'm Brother Philip from Toronto.
Yes, please go ahead.
And the question I'd like to ask, how do we break the power from these oppressors? How do we break them?
There's always a starting point in everything. And the starting point is having some kind of common philosophy. That's the first thing we have to do. We are so messed up that in fact, Africans in Guyana, if you have 4 Africans come together, each has a different world outlook, a different personal outlook, a different, based on the so-called religious kind of philosophy, but they don't know if you have one God, we should be one person working towards one end, but they're confused. So people think that having a different religions should really make us different. No, you have different ways of looking
after work
at your development.
I'm gonna tell you to meet me for
They give you different perspective, but the final analysis,
Uh,
you are
all right,
working towards
let's go.
your
I
development.
tell somebody go meet you 5:30 already.
Hello? Yes, my brother. And yes, my brother, I know I'm talking. I know I'm talking. I know I'm seeing. I just realized who I'm seeing at the moment. But you see, we don't understand, or we made not to understand our objective situations. We look through the eyes of others. Others tell us how to look. It's time we have to start looking ourselves in the mirror and seeing me, and not hating me for seeing me. For example, people don't realize as one of the things that are happening in the world today for Africans is that when an African see an African, he sees someone to hate. Someone that I can tell you two things: see someone to hate, see someone that is useless, see someone that can't move him forward because he's made to be like that. For example, the clothes I wear, I don't give me. The food I eat, I don't give me. The education I have in my head, I don't give me. The Africans, in reality, are the most childlike creatures on this planet. We don't feed ourselves, we don't clothe ourselves, we don't educate ourselves, we don't medicate us. That must stop for us to go forward. And I tell you something, and this is something not coming from your question, but to show you what is happening to us. Guyana is riddled by suicide. And I want people out there to listen. Guyana is riddled by suicide. We bring into this country psychologists. Psychologists, and I'm saying this to every psychologist on this planet, psychologists cannot deal with suicide. Suicide is not a psychologist's domain. In fact, psychologists dealing with suicide will bring more guilt complex into the individual. I'm saying this, and I'm challenging every psychologist on this planet. Suicide is a social interaction, comes out of social interaction. It should be it should be in the domain of sociologists. I'll tell you why. If I have a problem that I want to do damage to me, it doesn't come out of my head. Someone caused me to have that problem. That's a social relation. As soon as another person is involved with another person, it's a social relation. So therefore, not a psychological, not in the domain of psychology or a psychologist. And then, so why I mentioned that many things that we have are ill-situated. And we Africans, because we're not controllers of our own destinies, are moving towards, are being dependent on these things that are moving us. Why would we buy a place and call it Anne's Grove? Why would we buy a place and call it Queenstown? Why would we buy a place and call it Buxton? Why would we call a place and call it Victoria? Think about it seriously. We don't work in our own self-interest. We don't big up ourselves. Buy a place and call it Damon. Wow, that would have been great. Buy a place and call it Gladstone. In fact, I'm calling for, through the 1823 coalition, that East Coast Road up to the Barry Creek, what's the name of the creek? Burby.
Michael Creek first. Michael Creek.
Barry, no, a Barry.
Oh, yes, West Borbies, yeah.
Michael, right, Michael, yes. Up that creek should be called Gladstone Highway. And then from there to Essequibo, the bridge should be called to Borbies, because Coffee was using that route to liberate us. And Gladstone used that route to liberate. Why are we not fighting as African people to make sure that it's Gladstone Highway and make from Gladstone Highway to the Borbies River Kofi Highway. That should be priority. Why is it we haven't had a holiday for Damon? Damon shed his blood for us. He gave his life for us. He's a savior. He gave a blood. He raised our independent flag. We don't even know. We don't care. We don't know as African people we were independent since 9th of August 1834. Why? Because if an act is done and the law responds to that act, means the act was acknowledged. And if the person was punished, means punished in the line of that act. So that act entered into the legal books, etc. That act, African independence, happened in the 9th of August 1834, and we raised the flag. The flag flew. So this is something we're going to talk about. We are independent people. We don't even understand that. This foolishness is happening. I shouldn't say foolishness, but what happened in '66? We accepting independence. How could we accept being dependent upon people? Not only that, our government say we're 60-something years old. We're not 60-something years old. We were from 1625 to whatever year it is. That's our age. All the money that was made in that time should go into our treasury. But we accept foolishness, but we 1 year, 2 year. We have to sit and reason in our self-interest, reason in our brain output, not in theirs. We're doing everything messed up and wrong. Think about it, Brother Elton. I won't keep you back. But these are things we have a lot, and they're not over the air. We don't even have to do it over the air. We have to meet in places, meet together, and trash things out concerning our future. We're not. What I'm doing now is just saying things and having people informed what should be. But from this, we should meet and say, listen, where do we go from here? What do we do with this knowledge? Is this right? Is this wrong? And people don't take their egos into it, because if others say that what you're doing is wrong and you could see it's wrong, don't try to hold on to it. I would never try to hold on to anything that somebody could show me that I must go forward or throw it away. So this is what we do. We have to meet and reason in our own self-interest. And according to that question that Brother Philip said, we will go forward when we start thinking, reasoning in our self-interest, using our own models, using our own definitions, then we'll go forward, my brother. If there's anything, I thank everyone for listening to this particular, listen to me. And Brother Elton,
Yes,
I
okay.
thank you.
Our time has gone by, even though, well, I gave another 10 minutes because of the breakage we had. But before Brother Guyana goes, if there's any questions, I know today we are faced with a situation which everyone is talking about, the situation in Ukraine. Brother Guyana, any thoughts as to the impact of Ukraine on the African psyche, on the African in Guyana?
Yes, the Ukraine, like COVID, is something, not the Ukraine itself, but what it represents is just another plan in these people's control. I give an example. If I send you things from Global Report 2000, you'll see that all these, what you see happening today, they said there are too many people on the face of the earth. So, and this is officials from the American government officials, that there's too many people on the face of the earth. So we have to have pestilence, to have famine, all these things, and it cannot be otherwise. You hear my words, cannot be otherwise. It will happen. They tried with COVID. COVID didn't work exactly as they wanted to work. Now they're telling us they want us to stampede ourselves into allowing them to do another war drop bombs in about the place. But look what I'm gonna leave your listeners and you with this. When Iraq was accused of having making things of chemical warfare. No, I'm using the chemical. I want to mention the chemical, doing chemical warfare. Powell and all these people lied. Common television lied anyway. They went into Iraq and they did their damage. They claim that having chemical warfare would have damaged American national security interests. It would have caused, say, for example, the economy of America to decline, da, 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 da. Now, let us see what happened in China. How come we heard that in a lab in China, a chemical agent was created? That chemical agent, when created, was loosed upon the West, including America, knock their economy out of orbit, knock their population all over the place, and no threat was made to China. I want you to study Iraq and study China's and that COVID thing, and you're gonna see there's some how the world is so bogus, and we sit down and allow these things to happen. Why? Because we don't have our own universities, we don't have our own think tanks. Because if we had our own university, independence university, and then we would have had an independent media and all that, we'd be able to see what's really going on, what they play us. Concerning today, what's going on, please don't let us sit back and look, because whatever we do, we cannot, as Bob Marley said, we can't change the time. I see some fake news on WhatsApp using footage from 2016, 17, 18, all that about Venezuela and the Russian planes. They're actually putting that out now. Whatever happens, they will bomb Venezuela, and we will be bombed, or we get effects. We are earmarked to be bombed because we have oil, whether we like it or not. So we as Guyanese, we are helpless. Believe it or not, we are helpless. All we have to do is keep, in terms of supporting sides, do not unsupport a side. That is, Russia and America and Europe had their problems. Why? Until you understand it, don't get into it. Russia gave oil to Europe. And this is very important. Russia gives oil to Europe. America tried to tell Europe they must not take oil from Russia pipeline. Europe said, we are a sovereign country, you can't tell us what to do. America wanted to put sanction on Europe. Anyway, America went into Afghanistan, and listen to me, Guyanese people, listen to carefully. They went into Afghanistan not to do anything with Bin Laden, all that foolishness. They went in to make private contracts with the warlords through which the oil pipelines flow from Russia to Afghanistan. That is why they went in there. And you must understand that what's happening now has a lot to do with, one, Europe's dependency upon Russian oil. Three, secondly, America unable to control the people, those warlords in Afghanistan. And four, they are in a problem right now. How are they going to situate the Afghanistan that betrayed their own people, and they have to place them now? And they were trying to place some in Guyana. Under no circumstances should we as Guyanese people allow a single Afghanistan person to be housed in this country, because you know what we come? We come on the highest heroin producing. In fact, we become this area going to be the hub of drug production. Guyana with the opium, and the rest of South America with the cocaine. And if you think I'm talking stupid, listen, study the Opium War. In the Opium War, you realize that every bale of tea was being shipped. And when the bale of tea shipped and meet its destination, become a bale of opium. If the price, it doesn't matter if the price of oil should fall. In fact, I asked the official there at ACDA when he came to visit, I said, everybody's saying that soon Europe will not need oil, but you coming to us say that you're drilling oil for us. He says some kind of silly thing. Eric Phillips brought him there to speak. But you know what? He doesn't care. There are two games he has, but one of the game is this. Every barrel of oil shipped out is a barrel of cocaine. Just like every bale of tea shipped is a bale of heroin. My brother, is my son far-fetched, but these people play the game that they know. And as long as they're continuing and they don't look for anything new, and the opium wars and this war will be the same thing. We are just bystanders. We got to somehow be more effective than bystanders, and that is working together. And we got to find a way to work together, irrespective what they bring in our midst to split us up. And we got to work with the people in the Indian brothers and sisters in this country. We got to convince them, show them that this land is all of ours. And the ruling elite, I'm talking about the upper caste, and this, I'm saying this again, the upper caste Bahim in this country wants to do one thing with Guyana. This is what happened. They split. You had a Hindu country. They set out to do the same thing. Watch the trend. The trend is Guyana will become a part of India for the Hindus and a part of India for the Pakistan, and we go to wherever we should go. I want you to consider that. I want everybody in this country to understand that the future earmark for Africans in this country. That is the future earmark. But we gotta stop that. Anyway, and if we want, I think, Brother Elton, you mentioned that we could there should be a kind of program in future where we could talk about things that is much more everyday. We could move a path to wisdom. We could take concepts and develop these concepts on the air, because we don't get a chance to develop concepts. We just talk like history. No, we gotta be talk to ourselves. And I think we need something like developing some.
The conversation has begun, Brother Rudi. We need the conversation, and I'm hoping that we can have other brothers and sisters joining in this conversation.
Wonderful.
For ACDA, on behalf of ACDA, I thank you all who have given us your time, who have devoted your time to this hour. And, you know, a good thing must come to an end sometime. We cannot keep you longer. I mean, you forgo whatever you had planned for today to be with us. And Brother Rudi, I thank you very much for your time and the knowledge you have shared with us. I hope in the future if I call on you to impart some more wisdom to us, you will be available. So thank you very much. And to those of you who are on Facebook, thank you very much for your time too. Sorry that I thought we would have had some more participation from the crowd, apart from Brother Philip. But I know you all are a bit wiser for what Brother Rudi has imparted. And with that, I say Kwaheri and goodbye.
And I thank you, Brother Elton. Thank you very much, ACDA. Peace.
Yeah, okay. And back to our brother.
How you feel?